As a physician who has spent over 3 decades studying aging bodies, I need to tell you something that might shock you. Walking alone will not save you after 75. I know this contradicts everything you've been told. Fitness apps, health influencers, and well-meaning doctors keep repeating the same message. Just walk 10,000 steps a day and you'll be fine. But when you understand what actually happens to muscle, bone, and balance systems after 75, you begin to ask questions these simple recommendations never answer. How can walking rebuild muscle that's already wasting away at 8% per decade? How can walking restore the fast-twitch muscle fibers that catch you when you stumble? How can walking strengthen the stabilizer muscles that prevent the falls responsible for 3 million emergency room visits every year among seniors? It doesn't match the physiology, it doesn't match the biomechanics, and it certainly doesn't match what we see in clinical practice every single day. So I went searching for evidence the hard way. I reviewed hundreds of research papers from universities across the United States, Europe, and Asia. I analyzed studies involving thousands of adults over 75. I examined rehabilitation protocols from leading orthopedic centers, and I tested movements on seniors in clinical settings to see what actually works. Most exercises helped a little. Some made no measurable difference. But 5 exercises, only 5, delivered what science rarely promises: visible, measurable, repeatable improvements in strength, balance, and fall prevention, even in adults over 75. That's why in this video, I'm revealing the 5 exercises every senior over 75 must do in addition to walking. And stick around, because number 1 is the single most important predictor of whether you'll maintain your independence, and the research behind it might save your life. Full research citations are linked in the description for those who want to verify the evidence themselves. Before we begin, here's a question for you. How old are you right now? Drop your age in the comments. I'm reading and personally responding to every single one with specific guidance based on your situation. Now let's begin with number 5, a movement that targets something walking completely ignores. Number 5, heel-to-toe walking, also called tandem walking in clinical settings. And while it might look deceptively simple, the neuroscience behind why it works is fascinating. This exercise specifically targets something that declines rapidly after 75, your proprioception. Proprioception is your body's ability to know where it is in space without looking. It's the reason you can touch your nose with your eyes closed, or walk downstairs without staring at your feet the entire time. After 75, the nerve endings responsible for proprioception start sending weaker signals to your brain. Research shows that balance and functional exercises can reduce fall rates by 23% and decrease the number of individuals who experience falls by 15%. The mechanism is clear. Proprioception enhancement through specific training improves your nervous system's ability to detect and correct balance disturbances before they become falls. The cause of falls and fall-related injuries in old age has been reported to lie primarily in events after depolarization of skeletal muscle, in force generation and contractile speed. Heel-to-toe walking directly addresses this by forcing your nervous system to make rapid micro-adjustments. Here's how to perform it properly. Stand near a wall or sturdy countertop so you have something to reach for if needed. Stand tall with your shoulders back and pick a spot about 15 feet ahead of you to focus on. Then begin walking forward, placing each foot directly in front of the other with each step, so the heel of your front foot touches the toes of your back foot with each step. This narrow base of support makes your nervous system work overtime to maintain balance. You're essentially walking a tightrope, which activates the cerebellum and forces precise communication between your brain and body. Take your time with this. The goal isn't speed, it's precision and control. Aim for about 20 steps in a row twice a day. Proprioception is significantly improved through balance-focused activities, such as single leg stances and balance board exercises, which activate proprioceptors in muscles, tendons, and joints. As you get more comfortable, you can increase the challenge by turning your head side to side while walking, or by closing your eyes for a few steps. These progressions mimic real-world situations where you might be distracted, or where lighting is poor, exactly the conditions where falls most often happen. The reason this works while regular walking doesn't is simple. Regular walking on flat surfaces uses the same movement pattern repeatedly. Your nervous system goes on autopilot. Heel-to-toe walking breaks that pattern, forcing active neural engagement and rebuilding the pathways that keep you stable in unpredictable situations. Now let's move to number 4, which addresses one of the strongest predictors of whether you'll maintain your independence as you age. Before we continue, if you've found this information valuable so far, hit that like button to help more seniors discover these evidence-based strategies. And subscribe, we've got more research-backed health content coming every week. Number 4, chair squats, also called the sit-to-stand exercise. And this movement addresses one of the most critical predictors of longevity and independence in older adults. A study published in the European Journal of Preventive Cardiology found that the ability to sit down and stand up without assistance was directly correlated with longevity, with lower scores associated with higher mortality. The research is clear. Musculoskeletal fitness as assessed by sitting-rising ability was a significant predictor of mortality in 51 to 80-year-old subjects. Here's why this matters. After 75, the muscles responsible for standing up from a chair, primarily your quadriceps and glutes, start losing mass and strength at an accelerated rate. You may lose as much as 8% of your muscle mass each decade between the ages of 65 and 80. This process, called sarcopenia, speeds up significantly in the late 70s and 80s. After about age 50, muscle mass decreases at an annual rate of 1 to 2%, and muscle strength declines by 3% per year after age 75. That's nearly 15% strength loss in just 5 years. Chair squats are the most functional way to fight back against this decline because they mimic exactly what you need to do dozens of times every day. Getting up from the toilet, getting out of your car, standing up from the dinner table. These are the movements that determine whether you maintain independence or require assistance for basic daily activities. The exercise is straightforward, but execution matters. Start by sitting in a sturdy chair with your feet flat on the floor, about hip-width apart. Cross your arms over your chest or hold them straight out in front of you. Then lean forward slightly to shift your weight over your feet and push through your heels to stand all the way up. Pause at the top for a moment, then slowly lower yourself back down with control. The lowering phase is actually where a lot of the muscle building happens, so don't just drop back into the chair. Control the descent. This eccentric loading is crucial for building strength in aging muscles. Research involving older adults aged 65 to 75 and those 85 and older showed that 12 weeks of resistance exercise training resulted in approximately a 10% increase in quadriceps cross-sectional area and a 38% increase in leg extension strength. Even more impressive, physical performance improved by approximately 8%. I've seen patients who can walk for miles, but who struggle tremendously with sit-to-stand movements. These are the people who end up needing grab bars installed throughout their homes, or who start avoiding social situations because they're embarrassed about needing help getting up. Aim for 2 to 3 sets of 10 chair squats every day. If standing up without using your hands is too difficult right now, start by pushing off the armrests and gradually reduce how much you rely on them over time. The goal is to eventually be able to do this movement with your arms crossed over your chest. Once you can do that easily, progress by holding a light weight against your chest or by using a lower chair. The functional strength you build translates directly to maintaining independence. Now let's move to number 3, which targets something that becomes critical for preventing falls. Number 3, hip circles, standing hip mobility. At number 3, we have standing hip circles. This is an exercise most people have never considered, but it's absolutely vital after 75. This movement targets your hip mobility and the strength of the small stabilizer muscles that surround your hip joint. These muscles and the flexibility of the hip joint itself are what allow you to recover when you stumble or trip. When you lose your balance, your body instinctively tries to step out to the side or rotate your leg to catch yourself. If your hips are stiff and the stabilizer muscles are weak, your body simply cannot make these emergency corrections fast enough. The research is compelling. Lower extremity function has a stronger impact on quality of life and independence in old age than upper limb function, and leg muscles are more severely affected by aging than arm muscles. Hip mobility specifically becomes the weak link in the kinetic chain after 75. Declines in the number of neuromuscular junctions, with resulting dropout of fast twitch or type 2 muscle fibers, plays an important role in age-related muscle decline. Hip stabilizer exercises help maintain these crucial fast twitch fibers that are responsible for rapid balance corrections. Standing hip circles address both mobility and stability simultaneously. You're moving the hip through its full range of motion while forcing the stabilizer muscles to fire in order to keep you balanced on one leg. To perform this exercise properly, stand next to a wall or sturdy chair with one hand lightly touching it for balance. Lift your outside leg so your knee comes up toward your chest, then slowly move that knee out to the side, then behind you, and then back to the starting position. You're essentially drawing a big circle with your knee while keeping your standing leg stable. Do 5 circles in one direction, then 5 circles in the other direction. Then switch legs and repeat. The key is to make the circles as big as your mobility allows and to move slowly with control. Rushing through this defeats the purpose. The hip joint after 75 often becomes the weak link in the chain. People focus on their knees or their back, but the hips are what allow you to move in all directions and adjust quickly when something unexpected happens. Walking only moves your hips forward and backward in a very limited range. It does nothing to maintain the full 360-degree mobility of the joint or to strengthen those critical stabilizer muscles. Do your hip circles first thing in the morning, when your joints might be stiffest, and again before bed. Your hips will thank you, and more importantly, your hips might save you from a devastating fall. Now we're getting into the top 2 exercises, and the next one might surprise you because it requires no movement at all. Number 2, wall push, isometric hold. Number 2 on our list is the isometric wall push, and this is where we get into exercises that are absolutely essential for anyone over 75. An isometric exercise is one where you exert force against something that doesn't move. You're contracting your muscles without any actual movement happening at the joint. This type of exercise has unique benefits for older adults that traditional exercises cannot match. First, isometrics are incredibly safe for joints. There's no impact and no movement through ranges that might be painful or arthritic. Second, and this is crucial, research shows that high-intensity strength training with intensities greater than 75% of maximal strength capacity triggers higher increases in strength than training of medium or low intensity in elderly adults. But here's what makes isometrics special. They build the type of strength that prevents falls. The ability to generate force quickly, what researchers call rate of force development, is exactly what you need when you stumble and have to catch yourself instantly. You don't have time for a slow, controlled movement. You need explosive power, and isometric training develops this better than traditional exercises. The wall push specifically targets your core, chest, shoulders, and the stabilizer muscles throughout your trunk. These are the muscles that keep you upright and that allow you to brace yourself if you start to fall. To perform this exercise, stand facing a wall at about arm's length distance. Place both palms flat against the wall at shoulder height. Now, push into the wall as hard as you can while keeping your body in a straight line from your head to your heels. You should feel your core engage, your chest and shoulders working, and even your legs activating to anchor you to the ground. Hold this maximum push for 10 to 15 seconds while breathing normally. Rest for a moment, then repeat 3 to 5 times. The beauty of this exercise is that you can adjust the intensity instantly. Push harder for more challenge or ease off if you're just starting out. Very heavy strength training with few repetitions and maximal intended velocity in the concentric phase has proven safe and feasible, even in very frail patient populations, including women with osteoporosis, patients directly following hip fracture surgery, cancer patients undergoing adjuvant therapy, and stroke survivors. This exercise works the entire chain of muscles from your hands through your arms, shoulders, core, and down into your legs. It teaches all these muscles to fire together in a coordinated way, which is exactly what happens when you need to catch yourself or brace against something for support. You can also perform this exercise pushing into a countertop or even sitting in a chair pushing against a desk. The important thing is that you're pushing with maximum effort against something immovable for those 10 to 15-second holds. And now we've arrived at the number one exercise, the single most important movement for preventing falls and maintaining independence after 75. Number 1, single leg stance. The most important exercise for anyone over 75 is the single leg stance, and the research behind this simple movement is absolutely remarkable. When physicians talk about the most underutilized exercise in senior fitness, this is what we're referring to. Standing on one leg might seem too basic to be important, but the science tells a completely different story. A study following 316 community living volunteers over age 60 for 3 years found that one-leg balance was a significant predictor of injurious falls, and it was the strongest individual predictor identified in the study. Even more striking, over the 3-year follow-up, 71% experienced a fall and 22% an injurious fall, with impaired one-leg balance strongly associated with both outcomes. Research analyzing balance and falls in adults through midlife and later found that associations of balance with falls risk clearly emerge before age 65, and assessment of one-legged balanceability earlier in midlife and at multiple time points provide promising ways to identify individuals at highest risk. But here's the most compelling finding. Research using standardized force platform assessments found that tandem and single-leg stance times are the most effective positions for fall risk stratification in community-dwelling older adults, with mediolateral amplitude of body sway in single-leg stance able to predict falls within 6 months. The reason single-leg stance is so effective is that it integrates everything: balance, proprioception, hip stability, core activation, and ankle strength all have to work together simultaneously when you're standing on one foot. This is exactly what happens during walking. Most people don't realize that walking is essentially a series of single-leg stances. Every time you take a step, you're briefly balancing on one leg while the other swings forward. The stronger and more stable you are on each leg individually, the safer your walking becomes. But here's the critical difference. During normal walking, you're on one leg for only a fraction of a second before the other foot touches down. This brief duration isn't enough to challenge and strengthen your single leg stability. By standing on one leg for 30 seconds or more, you're giving your nervous system time to fully engage all the stabilizer muscles and to build the endurance those muscles need to protect you throughout the day. To perform single-leg stance properly, stand near a wall or sturdy chape. Lift one foot just an inch or two off the ground. You don't need to lift it high. Focus on keeping your standing hip, knee, and ankle stable without shifting your weight excessively. Try to hold this position for 30 seconds on each leg. If that's too difficult, start with whatever you can manage and build up gradually. Do this exercise at least 3 times per day. The ideal times are when you're brushing your teeth morning and night, and while waiting for your coffee to brew or food to heat up. Building it into existing routines makes it much more likely that you'll actually do it consistently. Studies involving adults aged 85 and older showed that 12 weeks of resistance exercise training resulted in increases in whole body lean mass, quadriceps muscle size, and dramatic improvements in leg extension strength, with no differences in the response to training between those aged 65 and 75 and those aged 85 and older. This proves that even the oldest adults can build strength and improve function. A systematic review with meta-analysis found that among non-instrumented balance tests, the single-leg stance test appears to be the most promising for discrimination between fallers and non-fallers. To progress this exercise over time, try closing your eyes while standing on one leg, turning your head from side to side, or standing on a slightly unstable surface like a folded towel. Each of these progressions challenges your balance system in new ways and continues building the neural pathways that keep you safe. Here's the point most people miss. I've seen patients who could walk for miles but who couldn't stand on one leg for more than 5 seconds. These are the patients who fall reaching for something on a high shelf or stepping over a threshold. Their walking fitness didn't translate to the balance and stability they actually needed. Single leg stance is the #1 exercise because it fills the gap that walking leaves behind. Conclusion. So, there you have it, 5 exercises that research shows are essential for anyone over 75 who wants to stay independent and avoid the devastating falls that send so many seniors into a downward spiral. Walking is wonderful, and you should absolutely keep doing it. Research from the National Institute on Aging shows that the best recipe for improving physical function and avoiding disability is a combination of walking and resistance training. But as the evidence clearly demonstrates, walking alone leaves critical gaps in your physical fitness. Your proprioception, your ability to stand up from seated positions, your hip mobility, your trunk strength, and your single leg stability all need specific attention that walking simply does not provide. The good news is that these 5 exercises together take less than 15 minutes per day. You don't need a gym membership or any equipment. You don't need to be in great shape to start. Every single one of these movements can be modified to match wherever you are right now. Start with whichever exercise feels most manageable and add the others over time. Even doing just the #1 exercise, single leg stance, 3 times a day would put you ahead of most people your age in terms of fall prevention. Sarcopenia affects your musculoskeletal system and is a major factor in increased frailty, falls, and fractures, which can lead to hospitalizations and surgeries that increase the risk of complications, including death. But the research also shows that there are ways to treat and even reverse the effects of sarcopenia through lifestyle changes, particularly through progressive, resistance-based strength training. Your future self will thank you for every second you invest in these movements today. Take care of your body. It's the only one you've got. Now I want to hear from you. Which of these 5 exercises are you going to start with today? And what's been your biggest struggle when it comes to staying active and maintaining your balance as you've gotten older? Share your experiences in the comments below. I'm reading every single one and will respond with personalized guidance based on your specific situation. If you found this video valuable, please share it with friends and family who are over 75. These evidence-based strategies could make a real difference in their health and independence. Thanks for watching, and here's to your continued strength and mobility.